Hello, and welcome to the second part of the Flowacademy series. And in this episode, we're going to learn how to set up the verification process, which is a follow up from our last episode where we learned how to create an account. And now we're going to learn how to verify whether that email is valid or not. So I'm currently on Webflow. So what I'm going to do is head over to the verify email page just to show you what we have on the build at the moment. So we have this div block here that shows the user, the loading state. When you land on this page, this is the only thing that you would see. So checking your activation link. So if you remember correctly, so let me just rewind a little bit. The user creates the account. Our system sends over a email that contains a verification link. The user clicks on that verification link and it takes them to this page right here where we check if the magic link is valid. So the first thing that the user would see is this right here, checking your activation link. And then we have this other div block here, which is, I like to refer it to as the success wrapper. So if the magic token, if the verification token is valid and everything is good, then we will show this success banner right here. And when it's successful, we redirect that user to the select a plan page where they can get to select what plan they would like. If it's not valid, if the magic link is not valid, we then show this state right here, this specific state right here. Now, also, there's another scenario where your magic link is completely expired or invalid. For those kind of scenarios, we have this form right here. So we would say something in the lines of, "Hey, your magic token link, your magic link has expired, or your verification link has expired. Please enter your email and request for another verification link." So that's where we initiate a request where Xano is going to send out another email to the user where they can where they can receive another verification link. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Everything here is quite straightforward. Let me just check if there's anything on the page settings. All right, nothing on the page settings. Other than that, we're going to be addressing each and every element here through when we start setting up our Wized request and action. So yeah, that is that for the Webflow side of things. So over on Xano, we have two API endpoints that we're going to be focusing on for this episode, and that would be the auth verify email and the auth resend activation link. So let's start off with the auth verify email and walk through and understand what's happening here. So for the input, we have magic token. And if you remember, again, the user clicks on the link, the verification link in their email, it redirects them to a browser, and the magic token is actually in the parameter. So Wized is going to grab the value from the parameter, and then it uses that to make a request to Xano. So that's how we get that over to Xano. Okay, so on the function stack, on our first function, we have a precondition to make sure that the magic token is not null. So let's open this up, and if it is null, we throw in a error message saying magic token is missing. All right, and then we have the second function, which is basically decoding magic token. Now, a bit of a disclaimer here. All the actions that you see here are basically copy pasted from Xano's. Well, Xano has another snippet where they created a magic link with SendGrid. So they have an entire snippet on that. They have fully detailed tutorials based off of that. So I'm going to link the tutorial specifically for how they decoded how they decode the magic token. So I'm going to link the entire tutorial onto the description here so you can check it out, because I'm not going to get too much into the details. Because I just simply copy pasted what they had in that snippet. So just letting you know. Okay, so we have a JWE decode. This is a function that is primarily responsible for grabbing the magic token and then using the magic JWT secret key, which is, if you remember from our previous episode, we have this saved as an environment variable. So yeah, based on that, let me just close that and open this up again. Yeah, based on that, it starts decoding the entire magic token. So that's what the first function does over here. And then we have a second precondition. These are quite specific. So within the magic token, it makes sure that the user ID and the magic token is not null. So these are quite specific. Then we have a get record for users. So based on the user ID that is encoded into the magic token, we want to make sure that user ID does exist inside our users database. So that's what this function does. And then we have one, two, three, four preconditions covering various scenarios. Like this one here, this is quite a basic one. This makes sure that the user is not null. So we want to make sure that the user does exist. And if they don't, then we're going to say the magic link doesn't exist. And then we have another precondition here for the event where, let's see what we have here. User magic link token. Yeah, so we need to make sure that the magic link token is equals to the decoded magic link token here. So basically, if you remember correctly, if I take you to the dashboard, it might be confusing the way I just said it. So let me just scroll all the way down here. In the last episode, I signed up for an account, and we have that information saved in this column here, in this object, sorry. So you'll notice that we have this token here. So we just want to make sure that this token here in the database is matching with the one that we grabbed from our magic token from the parameter. So that's essentially what's happening. So let me just jump back into here. So yeah, that's what's going on over here. All right, let's close this, and then we have our precondition here. Okay, so this is the one that checks the time. So we want to make sure that the expiration is less than an hour, because if it's more than an hour, then the magic link has expired. And then we have another scenario where we want to make sure that the magic link has not been used. So as you can see right now, this is set to false because I haven't actually used the magic link yet. So which is why this is set to false. So let's jump back into our API endpoint. And there we go. And once our magic token passes through all these precondition, we then eventually create an authentication token for the user. Now, the reason why we're creating an auth token for the user is so that we can log them in, and then we redirect them into the purchasing a plan page, which is another page that we are going to be focusing on a later episode. But to provide you with some clarity, what I'm going to do is jump over onto Webflow here. Okay, so this is the page where you would land, and we would check if the magic link is valid. Once it is valid, then we're going to take you to this page right here, which is select a plan. You can go in here and select a plan and then complete your purchase, and we will then again redirect you to the dashboard. So that is what's happening. Okay, perfect. So that is the end of the decoding magic token. Then we have another group, and we're calling this add user to Stripe. So because the user has verified their email, we want to add the user details over to Stripe. So let me open this. And okay, so as you can see, we have an API request. We're making an API request to Stripe. So let's check out what exactly it is that we're sending. We have this URL here. As you can see, we have a post method. And the first thing that we're sending is the user email. Oh, and then we're sending the user first name and the last name together, concatenated. And we're also setting in another metadata, just for internal purposes. This is actually completely useless, by the way, but this is just an example to show you that you can store random information in Stripe if you want to. So even if you don't have the metadata, that's absolutely fine. But if you want to add random pieces of data, that's totally up to you. You can do that if you want to. And then we have our header here. So yeah. Now, when it comes to the API request and how this has been built out, again, Xano has already provided a tutorial on this, so I'm not going to be covering that. But I will link the tutorial on the description below, so feel free to check that out. All right, so that is that for the API request. Let's look at the next function here, which is a precondition. So the precondition here, let's see what's happening. Create Stripe user response result, error null is null. Okay, so we're just making sure that the result, which is error, is basically set to null. And if there is no error, what we want to do is we want to edit the record in users. Now, if you remember correctly, we have a Stripe customer ID. That's why we are actually adding this user to the Stripe just for this one functionality. In case if you're wondering why bother adding this customer detail to Stripe? That is because we want to add the Stripe customer ID. And the reason why we're doing this is because later on, when this same customer is going to purchase the plan, whatever plan that is, it could be a monthly plan or a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription, we want to match the ID. So for that matching purpose, we have to register this customer into Stripe's database. So yeah, that is why we're storing that information into Stripe. Once Stripe stores that information, it creates a Stripe user ID, a customer ID, and we grab that and we store that in our database. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, this is all covered in a Xano tutorial, which you'll find it in the description below. So yeah, once that is done, we return the auth token as our response. So that is that for the verify email. All right, now let's focus on the resend activation link. Now, if you followed the first episode, you'll notice that the function over here resembles, it's basically a copy paste from create account. We, we have email as the input. So we grab the user's email and basically we try to get the record from our user's database to check if this user actually exists, which is the second function right here, precondition. We want to make sure that the email actually exists. And then once the email exists, we have a custom function, which is the generate magic link, which basically creates a new magic link for this user. And then it sends that magic link via email to that user using our Resend API. Again, all these steps have been covered in the last episode. So please make sure to follow that if you have any questions in mind or if you're confused at any area here. So yeah, that is that for the Xano side of things. So I think we're ready to hop over onto Wized. Now over on Wized, let's head over to our verify email page. Oh, on the wrong page. Okay, perfect. So what we're gonna do is create our first action for this page. Sorry, request. We're going to call it verify. Actually, rather than doing that, let me just duplicate this. Okay. Verify email, and for the endpoint, let's head over here, copy that. There we go. All right, so this is going to be post. We don't need all that, so let's get rid of all that and check the URL. Sorry, the URL input for here. Okay, so that's magic token. So let's create the URL here, magic token. Return, that reminds me, so we basically need to grab the parameter, URL parameter. So we need to create one first. So let's call it token. So we're going to call this token. Now, if you remember correctly, we actually call that parameter token from Xano. So if I take you to Xano here and head over to settings, open up manage, and where is it? There we go. So magic link redirect URI. So here's our entire URL, and right here we have token. Of course, you can change this if you want to, and if you do change this, you obviously have to rename your parameter in Wized. So something to keep in mind. Okay, now that we have named our parameter token, let's head back into our request here, and I can't, oh, there it is. There we go. We have the token. Amazing. So that is done. Now next we have is the resend activation link. So I'm just going to duplicate this request and call this resend activation link. Oh, that is so strange. What just happened here? Let me delete this. Okay, there we go. Resend activation. Let's copy that and paste this here. Now, let's just quickly check the URL param here. Okay, so that is email. So we have the input field verify email. So that's the one. I think that's the one. Let's check it out on Webflow. Yep, that's the one. Verify email. So this is the, oh, also another thing I completely forgot is you'll notice that both these containers are not visible on Wized. So if I close this, you'll notice that they're not visible. And the reason why is because we have the Wized cloak attribute applied onto these containers. Now, if you're not familiar with what Wized cloak is essentially, it's basically making sure that the container that contains this attribute will be hidden away by default. And then you can set its visibility over onto Wized. So you can apply whatever that condition is. So if this condition is met, make sure that this container, which is invisible to begin with, which is hidden away to begin with, and it should be visible now. Also, another thing to point out is that we also have a CSS applied for the Wized cloak. So if I take you over to the site settings and then head over to custom code, so you'll notice that we have the Wized CSS for the Wized cloak right here. So essentially what it says is that display is set to none. And yeah, actually we don't need the transform. Let's just get rid of that. So yeah, so we'll just have the display set to none. And then Wized is going to display it back on if you have a specific condition, which we do. So we're going to get into that in just a bit. So yeah, something to keep in mind. Also, I'm not going to get, there are also other stuff, and you'll notice that on the Notion doc, so if it loads up, I have provided some resources here on how to effectively install Wized Cloak and everything that you need to know about Wized Cloak. So Alex does an amazing job. So please feel free and make sure to check this out in case if you are not completely familiar with what Wized Cloak is. So hopefully that helps. So let's jump back into our Wized. Okay, so I've gone ahead, created a new folder called verify email and nested that inside of our primary parent auth folder here. So yeah, we got both our requests nested here. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with our action, with the first action being verify email request. Actually, you know what? We're going to put that in quotes. Will be easier that way. So this is the verify email request that we're going to execute, and this is going to be set to event with the trigger being when the page starts loading, because the user is going to land on this page, and as soon as they land on this page, we want to immediately start the request. So we want to perform a request, and we want verify email, and we also want to make sure that we set a condition because we don't want this request to run on each and every page. So let's make sure that it only runs on this specific page. So /auth / verify email. So we want to make sure that it only runs when the user is on this page. Okay, perfect. So yeah, that's that for the first action. Let's create the second one. Okay, so the second one is going to be set visibility to verify email loader. Okay, so this basically is this one right here, verify email loader. So right here, we want to make sure that we are selecting this based on an element here, and the attribute being verify email loader. So it only needs to be visible when return so verify email is requesting set to true. Oh, there we go. So we only want that loader to appear when our request is being executed. Is requesting, sorry. So let's move on to the third step, which is show verify email success. And for this one is also going to be based on an element. And let's see, we want to put this as verify email success and set visibility to return status is 200. Alrighty. Now, in case if you're wondering, what did I just set up here is show verify email success. We are setting up the visibility for, let me just jump into the designer here, for our success banner. So if you remember when I mentioned that, when the user is landing on the page and the magic link is completely valid. Okay, which page? There we go, verify email. So it's this one right here. So we want to make sure that this page is visible when the verify email is successful. And if the verify email is not successful, then we show this this wrapper here. So yeah, let's jump back to Wized. So this is done. Okay, so for the fourth action, what we're going to do is, of course, assuming that the user is successful, we want to redirect that user. So that's what this action is going to be about. So this is going to be an event-based action, and the trigger is request finishes. This is going to be called verify email. And now before we do the redirection, we need to set a cookie. And obviously the cookie being the auth token. If you remember correctly, we have the auth token being returned if everything is successful and if everything goes according to plan. So let's just go ahead and select that and return okay, magic token is missing. Well, let's just put this in here, and instead of message, I'm going to put auth token. That's because that's what the data, that's what the data point is going to look like. So our verify email.data.auth token. Obviously, we're going to test this out. So if it doesn't work, we will know that the problem is coming from here. Now, once the cookie is set, we want to run another function, and this is going to be a run function. Now, for this function right here, what we're going to do is head over to our Notion doc and scroll down. Okay, so we got here. So this is redirect user. So basically what is happening is that we wait for 3 seconds before redirecting. That's what this whole code is for. Because you can't at the moment set up a timer on a redirection, so you have to use custom code. So let's go ahead, copy this code, and let's bring it over onto Wized. Perfect. So that is done. However, that is not completely done. Okay, so basically, let me just go through this code one more time, because I haven't completely explained it. So obviously, we're waiting for 3 seconds. We wait for 3 seconds and then we redirect the user. But how does Wized know where to redirect the user? So we have a separate Wized variable called verify email redirect URL. So let's copy this variable here. And at the moment, we obviously don't have that created. So let's go ahead and create that. Okay, so now that we have created the verify email redirect URL, we just need to head over to Webflow and basically copy paste the URL for this specific page here, membership select a plan. So this is where we're going to redirect the user. So let's do that. Okay, there we go. So let's copy that, close that tab, head over to Wized, and return. There we go. Perfect. So once that is done, let's head over to our redirect user here, and we're going to add a conditional stating that this redirection only needs to happen when the verify email status is set to 200, so that we don't get any sort of redirection issue. Now let's move on to our next action, which is the show verify email error. So let's call this show verify email error. All right, so let me head over to Webflow here real quick and just check real quick if we're targeting the right element. So we're looking for the verify email error. Yeah, there we go. Verify email error. So it's basically this one right here. So we want to show this, basically set its visibility. So let's do that. So this is an element and we want to show this, verify email error, set this to visibility, and it's visible when return.
Can't help with emails here.
Oh, that's my Siri going off. Sorry about that. Okay, return. All right, so for this one, email has requested is set to true, and the status is not 200. So when the status is not 200 and the verify email has requested is set to true, only then we show the error email. So let's go ahead and basically close all the, and actually, let me just load this page up properly. Head over to verify email now. Okay, there we go. So now we are supposed to see the error because we don't have any magic token on the URL parameter, which makes sense. Okay, so we're on the right track here. Of course, a lot of things might not make sense right now, but we're going to start testing everything out once we have set all our actions. Next on the list we have is our set verify email error text. So let's do that. Set verify email error text. Okay, so this is an element and the attribute is called verify email error header. So it's this one right here. So this will tell us what is wrong and why are we getting this error. So let's go ahead and set the text for this. So this is going to set to plain text. And for the return, I will put our email.data.message. There we go. So as you can see, now it says magic token is missing, and which is basically the accurate error because magic token is indeed missing. Perfect. So let's head over to our next action. And this one is called Resend Activation Link Form. Actually, this is supposed to be set visibility to resend activation form. So it's basically this form right here. Now this form is also conditional. It only shows up if your magic token is expired or yeah, but we're going to cover those scenarios right now. So, all right, let's we have this set to element, and the attribute that we are targeting is magic link expired. So as you can see, this targets both this text right here and this form right here. Why are we targeting these two elements? This is all going to make sense in just a bit. So we want to set the action to set visibility. And I already have the condition on when this element needs to be visible. I already have the thing for this ready here. So let me just paste that in here. Okay. So it's quite a long one. So we have our verify email data message. So this only shows up when we get this error right here. Magic token has expired. Please request another one. Or when the verify email data message returns corrupt magic token, please request another magic link. Or we have another verify email data message, incorrect magic token, please request another one. Now, in case if you're wondering, how do I know if our request will return these exact messages? And that is because if you remember correctly, and let me take you over to our Xano endpoint here. On the verify email, when we are decoding the magic token, we have all these preconditions set here. So if I open up these preconditions, you'll notice that these are the error messages that we're actually basing our visibility on. So incorrect magic token, please request another one. So the error messages where it asks the user to request for another one, so those are the error messages that, sets the visibility for our form. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that if you end up changing the wording, obviously this is going to break something on Wized. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. So let's head over onto Wized. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So next on the list we have is our set visibility to this login button here. So let's do that. Set visibility to go back to login. Okay. Now let's this one is called get login, I believe. Go login. Okay. So let's do that. Go login, set visibility. Now I have the note for the visibility condition right here. So I'm just going to copy that and paste that in here. Now this is basically the opposite of our last action. Oh, let me actually point that out quickly. Okay, so basically this is the opposite of our last action. So this is where we want the login button to show up if it's not magic token has expired, please request another one, or corrupt magic token, please request another magic link. So we want to make sure it doesn't our request doesn't show these specific messages. Only then the login button should show up. So again, it's the same exact thing, but the only condition is that we want to make sure that it's not those exact messages. And if it isn't, then we show the login button here. So let's try reloading this page. And there we go. So clicking on here will take us back to the login page. Okay, so now that we have figured out the we've set the visibility for all the important bits, now we need to move on to the next step, which is the activation link, requesting the activation link. Okay, so I'm going to call this reset activation link request. And this is going to be element and the attribute being called verify email trigger because let's check. Yeah, so it's called verify email trigger. So it's this button right here for this verification. Yeah, for this form right here. This is going to be an on event action based on a click, and we are going to perform a request, and that request being resend activation link. Now, in case if you're wondering how I know all this, is because I've already previously set all this up. So I'm just setting up all these actions right now. And then when we're going to run our test, you'll understand how each and every action is relevant to, to our setup here. Now we have another action, and if you remember correctly, on our last episode, we had when we created an account, we reset the entire form after a successful request. So we're going to do the same for this one here as well. So we're going to reset our resend activation. So we reset the entire form after a successful request. So this is going to be request finishes and resend activation link. And then we are going to run a function. Now this function is following the same exact code, by the way. So if I head over to Notion and this one right here, we just copy that. And what it does is basically it checks if the resend activation link request is successful. And once it is successful, it targets the input called verify email, and it makes sure to reset that input. All right, so let's copy that and head over to Wized, paste that in, and done. Okay, so for the next action, we have our setting visibility for our form loader. So let's do that. Set visibility, verify email form loader. Now, just to clarify, it's this one right here. So we just want to make sure that the visibility for this one here is, it only comes on when the request is requesting. So let's set this to element, and our attribute is called verify email form loader. Set visibility, and this is quite an easy one. So resend activation link, and we set this to is requesting, set to true. So when the resend activation link is requesting and it's set to true, only then we want our form loader to show up. Okay, so for the next action we have is our set visibility for success and error banner. Again, it's the same exact thing that we did for in the last episode as well with our creating an account. So let's do that. Success or error banner. Now, if I take you to the Flowacademy Webflow build here, our form also has the same div block, the form validation wrapper, which has the success wrapper and the error wrapper. I'm not going to explain this again because, again, this is something we've already covered in the last episode. So I'm just going to go ahead and set this up. So this is going to be an event-based action where we wait for the request to finish, and that request being resend activation link. And then we're going to run our function, which is going to be a custom code, which you will find in our Notion doc. So as I've already explained this, I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this. And there we go. So all our actions have been set up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and set up our folder for this, and I'll be back in just a bit. Okay, so I have gone ahead and I've compiled all the actions and stored this into this folder here called verify email, which is nested under the auth folder. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is, obviously you have a lot of questions about all the actions that we've set up, because obviously I haven't really provided a lot of context. So what we're going to do is we're going to test out the entire flow, and I'm going to point out which actions they are related to. So that way, this will clear up everything that you may be confused about. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to head over to Webflow here and take you to the verify email page just to explain again what we're going to test out. Now, if you remember correctly, on the last episode, I've created an email. I've created a new account with an actual email, so I've already received the magic link for that. But in at the time of making this, that magic link has already expired. So what we're going to do is that we're going to use that magic link to check if we get this error message right here, this error container. So technically what we should get is basically the system should let us know that, hey, your magic token has expired. So please request for another magic link. And then we are going to go ahead and then apply our email and then request for another link. Which should actually send us another email. So we're going to click on that and then we'll notice and we'll check if if it's successful. Once it's successful, it should redirect us to the select a plan page, which is this one right here. So if all that works, that means our actions is working properly and the way it should. All right, so what I'm going to do is head over to Xano. Okay, so let's close all that and head over to create account and click on request history. So this should give us a history of the request that I made initially to create an account. So this is the email that I used. So if I look at the output, you'll notice that it output this token here. So we're just going to go ahead and copy this token, which is the magic link. We're going to copy that, bring it over to Wized here, open up our canvas. And if you remember correctly, our URL parameter is called token. So we go ahead and paste that in here. And there we go. Magic token has expired. Please request another one. We apologize for that. You can re-enter your email to get a new activation link. And you also notice that our form is now visible as well, which is great. It's working as intended. However, the go back to login button should not be there. So let's try to fix this. Let's switch our X-ray. So this is go login. Okay, all right, so it's this one right here. Set visibility to go back to login. Okay, so we have this set to, okay, so it seems like our logic isn't going to work. So we need to change things up a little. So what we're going to do is we're going to erase all that. Head over to Xano. And what we're going to do, verify email. So on the preconditions, that the messages that doesn't say anything about requesting magic link, we're going to use those error messages to control the visibility of our login button. That's what we're going to do. So this is one right here. So let's copy that and or let's check for other error messages. So not this one, not this one. Okay, this one. The magic link has been used. So let's do that. There we go. Let's check for any other. Corrupt magic token. Please request another one. Nope. Okay, so it looks like these two error messages. So this one right here and this one right here. So whenever we have these two error messages popping up, only then we should show our login button. Okay, perfect. So we're going to do exactly that. So yeah, let's reload this page. Okay, perfect. It's working as intended. Now, what we're going to do is apply our email here. Now, when I click on request link, we want our loader to show up and our success banner to pop up. So actually, instead of doing that, let's not complete that email. And let's see what happens. Okay, so we have this popping up, which is weird. All right, let's see what's going on here. Resend activation link request. Aha. Okay, so we need to click on prevent default. So let's reload this page one more time and just type in any email and not even complete that properly. Okay, perfect. So our error message is working. Our loader here is working as well. So let's put in our real email this time and an actual email, and designs2017@gmail.com. So request link. Perfect. Amazing. We've sent you an activation link to your email. Amazing. It worked beautifully. So what we're going to do now is head over to Xano and basically click here, resend activation link, and check its request history. So if I check the input, so yeah, that's the email that we used, and it should output our token. So let's go ahead, copy this token, and head over to Wized. Open up our canvas. Now, the moment I put in our new value, it should redirect us to our get a plan page. So also, before I do that, remember that we also have an auth token. So we want to make sure that the auth token is assigned as well, which is covered by our actions. So let's paste that in. Amazing, your email is verified, redirecting you now. Perfect, so it worked. But obviously it's, which is weird. I think it probably would have worked if I wasn't in the Wized panel. But as you can see that the auth token is there. So that's amazing. Perfect. So the redirection doesn't reflect that properly when you're inside of Wized, but when you're actually previewing this on just outside of Wized, this works absolutely fine. But yeah, just to recap, as you start setting this up and as you start testing this out, all these actions, will make complete sense as to why we've set it up the way we have. Hopefully this episode was fun. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. If you have any queries, please make sure to put them on the comments below, and I'll make sure to answer them as quickly as I can. And yeah, have a great day, and thanks for watching.